Hello everyone, in this video I want to show you my second wither skeleton farm. This one produces 10 skulls per minute and it uses the translocation thing that I showed earlier. I've removed the rendering of the blocks in this version of Minecraft just so you can easily see how they spawn and which way they get moved. As you might be able to see, the wither skeletons get pushed up and then moved this way, and the other mobs are moved out of render distance and they actually despawn because they are further than 127 blocks away. Okay, let's take a look at the farm with blocks. Okay, so what we see here is the actual farm with the blocks properly rendered, and as you can see it's not all that big. It uses 8 rows with all the translocators, and you can see just how it works. All the blazes and pigmen and the occasional skeleton and slime get translocated over here, and they just get out of render distance and actually just more than 127 blocks away, which makes them despawn instantly. And yeah, you can see that quite nicely here. And with the skeletons they get transported over here, and I actually use a fence gates to push them down as well, just to make it a little bit faster. I set up a command block contraption here just to measure things more easily and just test things. But you're supposed to just use your sword, because in 1.9 you can just use the sweep attack, just have to stand still. And you could also use dogs, I guess, but then you don't get the looting effect. Anyway, so this is 10 skulls per minute, and right now I want to explain you a little bit more in detail how it works. I've outlined the area of the nether fortress with glass here, and that's quite important because that area is super big, and most other farms use the intersections to get a big spawning rate. But actually, if you use the entire bounding blocks of the fortress, then all these mobs will spawn on nether brick instead of only having pigmen spawn. So the way we deal with this is we transport all of them using the fence gates, and these are a little bit less high, so you can see that here. So these wither skeletons are about 2.5 blocks. These are just a bit lower than 2 blocks, so we can quite easily sort them. And the only problem is these 3 mobs, and these 2 are an issue because they just don't get moved at all by the piston translocators. They would get moved if we used a bigger delay, if we have a one redstone tick between these activating, but we have a 1 game tick because that makes the farm significantly faster. I've really tried to minimize lag in pretty much every case. So right here I used cauldrons because they only output a redstone strength of 3, which is exactly what this needs as well. Because redstone with a strength of 15 really lags the game a lot. I'll link a video I made before about that. And using this I was able to run it quite fast actually. So it depends a bit on your computer, but I just run it on about 1 second clock, and that seemed to still give me 20 TPS, so that's quite good. Now I'll show you some of the decisions I made while deciding this. So there's 1 piston here in the middle that will push both of these lanes, and of course these on the side only just push the last lane. And then right here I used comparators with signal strength 1, so they power this with signal strength 1 and this one then powers this piston, and this powers the next comparator. And I had to use leaves here, even though I completely hate using them, but leaves are pretty much the only block which don't get moved by pistons and still have a solid top and also don't cut redstone. And the reason I used ice here is to crush the magma cubes if they get stuck in here, which they quite often do. And they just suffocate instantly because they have 1 health, so that's good. Also, I used ice here because it doesn't obstruct spawning attempts. So if I would have used a full block, like so, well, of course that doesn't work because then it pushed, but quartz block, then it would make it a little bit less efficient because a little bit less likely that they will spawn there. And of course, something like glass would not suffocate. So that's also one of the few blocks that works here. And let's see, then yeah, so here you can see the comparators, which just have a signal strength of 14 going into the side and 15 going in, so this is all signal strength 1. Then here at the end, the wither skeletons get pulled up. And actually this was just trial and error. So this seemed to work really well actually, so that was quite lucky. It's the same comparator line powering these. So we've got 3 pistons here, and which is just to make the chance the highest that they actually go through here in the middle. And then there's some vines here, because they don't always make it through, especially on a slower clock. And then they would take fall damage and they would instantly die when they reach you, which would be a shame. But in general, almost none of them fail, so that's good. Here you can see there's a too high gap, so all mobs will try to be pushed down here, but only the mobs that are less than 2 high will get pushed here. They fall here, and then they get pushed all the way over there. And when they're at the end, they will despawn because there's no player near. Then right here, I pulled the signal, and I've used a repeater here, but I've used also signal strength of 14. So as you can see, the redstone block here almost powers this repeater, but doesn't quite reach it, except if the repeater here would get powered, then it will. So if we just grab a lever, if we would power it, you can see then everything will get powered. Okay, so this is also just to reduce lag, because this will only increase the level by 1, and then it will go all the way through. So that's also really nice. Actually, it was Helvins that came up with that. He suggested it for some other use, but actually this was really nice. Then I even used Cauldron with water level 2 to get strength level 2 here, which is not really necessary, but yeah, it reduces lag a little bit by having less comparator output level. Okay, so right here, actually, here it actually is needed because I didn't use the subtraction mode here. So there's actually a signal strength of 1 coming in here, and then it's also 1 all the way through. Then this is just 0 tick generator. Fairly simple, also really lag friendly. And yeah, as you notice, that lag friendly was really a big part of this design, because it's just, it makes you run it faster, which increases the output. So it's really important. Then here we have some things which are level strength 15, which is not a big deal, of course, to have it a few times. So this powers the pistons to push the wither skeletons that way, and then actually, and before that, these ones extend to make them actually all in this one spot, so they get pulled up. I used buttons here to prevent spawning. They don't act as buttons, but redstone components prevent spawning in 1.9, so that's why I used them. This is just a small setup to get 1 game tick delay, which I used in the beginning as well. This design actually has all the bedrock above it removed, which increased the rates by quite a bit, because using this, it only uses the first 5 subchunks, because it only goes through Y78 with solid blocks, meaning that's below 80, which is less than 5 times 16, and therefore it only goes to subchunk 5, which makes the game attempt more spawns. Gnembon has a nice video about that, and that's also the reason for these blocks, because without it, it would see a subchunk of 0 or 1, and then it would only try to spawn blocks, mobs at bedrock level roughly, and we would not have any coming in from the sides. Gnembon has one video really explaining it quite nicely. It is also possible to add a blaze mode to this farm. I haven't done this yet, but it would be possible to grab the blazes from here. You can just despawn the farm up until this point just by building a torch tower under, and then pull the blazes out here and then transport them up and then to the player. The reason I haven't done that is because I couldn't find an easy, lag-friendly way to quickly transport the blazes over here yet. But if we build this on the SciCraft server, I'm sure there will be a blaze switch. So yeah, one last note on the mobs. So like I said, on the what's it called? Nether brick. Yeah, of course. So on the nether brick, inside a nether fortress bounding box, all the nether mobs, other nether fortress mobs will actually spawn. And the way you can find that bounding box is easiest by just looking into the server files and looking for the fortress.dat files. Another way could be to just test it in survival by putting blocks down and then seeing if there's mobs spawning on them. Because they always, as far as I know, they always start at Y48. As you can see, this is Y48. So they would still spawn here, but here only blazes and magma cubes and stuff would spawn. Of course, technically gas would also spawn, and also larger magma cubes, but yeah, we just have one wide spaces, so they cannot spawn there. And like I said, in this farm, these mobs don't get moved, and it's possible for them to get crushed in here as well. But since they have 20 health, it's going to take a while. The other option is to just have them despawn, which happens at 60 seconds on average. And I found them to not be the biggest impact. Like there would be around 5 or 6 on average, I think, around. So that's, it does affect the rates, but I couldn't find a way to improve it enough to actually remove them and improve the rates. Oh, of course, if you want to build this farm, you pretty much have to dig out an entire perimeter, which definitely is a lot of work. And also removing the bedrock is a lot of work. Using Dragon Axe, it's not that bad, especially since it doesn't have to be this big. I just did it with MC Edit, but if you just cut it from here on out, it's not all that bad, but still a lot of work. Also, you wouldn't have to remove the bedrock. You could just use this farm and it won't, it will affect the rates, but it will still be very fast. Okay, that's about it. Thanks for watching.